Back in 1999, we started the Mastro Steakhouse and Mastros Ocean Club restaurants. We exited that in May of '07. We have 9 units in 6 states right now: Steak 44, Ocean 44, and Steak 48. We're just gonna do it until it's not fun anymore.
Hey everybody, it's Brandon Dawson. Welcome back to another episode of Building Billions. I have some remarkable guests here today with me. And it's a name that if anybody's ever eaten at the best steak houses in the world, they'll recognize. And I think that this is going to be a true testament of what it's like to build a business, start, build, scale, exit, start over, maybe exit again, who knows. Today I have with me Jeff Mastro, and I'm going to have him introduce who he is, what he's done, and what he's doing, and Oliver, both of them. So Jeff, why don't you kick this off?
Yeah, hi, how are you? So Jeff Mastro. We back in 1999, we started the Mastro Steakhouse and Mastros Ocean Club restaurants. We did that for a few years, and it was terrific. And then we exited that in May of '07. And then we decided, we were still young enough and wanted to continue on, and we thought there was a opportunity in more of the kind of somewhat more modern steakhouse segment, because that wasn't really existing at that point. So that's what we're doing now. We have 9 steakhouses now. Our Steak 44, Ocean 44, and Steak 48, and we have 9 units in 6 states right now. And our first one we did after we sold Mastros is a Dominic Steakhouse, named after my grandfather. And we're just having a good time now, and we're just gonna do it until it's not fun anymore.
Yeah, good. And Oliver, what's your role in all this?
I am the Chief Brand Officer for Jeff and his family. We've been together 32 years, so it's been an exciting adventure, great journey, and it just keeps getting better and better.
So, I remember coming here, eating at Mastros, and we loved up in Curland probably 12 years ago.
Sure.
And we really fell in love with the brand and the environment. And then here at City Hall? City Hall.
Yeah.
And so we'd go between the two. And then I think one opened in Palm Desert, where I had a place.
Yeah, that was after we sold.
Did, yeah.
After you sold.
Yep.
And so what's it like building a brand that, quite honestly, whenever anybody in New York, anyone, people go to Mastros, they want to go to Mastros. You started something with your brand position and with the quality of what you delivered that extended beyond transacting and exiting, but transformed into a whole nother line of businesses. And a lot of people talk about how tough it is in the restaurant business. How is it that you guys have figured out whatever that magic sauce is to build a high valued and high quality deliverable in the food industry or in the restaurant industry?
Well, we talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
So, and we don't have all the answers. So, this is me and my brother right now, and we're so passionate with what we do. And it's all about the guest. And when you're only focused on the guest and not all your cost and your economics and all that, that I think that makes all the difference. We just want the guests to come in and have the best experience possible. And if they don't, they're not going to pay for it. I mean, that's what it is. It's just all about the guest. And if you're guest focused as far as service and food and everything, it really makes for a winning situation.
So we have a saying, which is price is only an issue in the absence of value.
That's exactly right.
And so it's your belief that you could pretty much charge whatever you want as long as that experience is remarkable for the person that's coming in to eat at the restaurant, or even, I like to go there just to get drinks, by the way. It's like a great place just to be. It's a community place, right?
Well, it has a great feel, and that's really what it's about. The food has to be, the best quality and spectacular, luxury personal service, and then the environment and all the other things that go along with it, and then the culture that we work so hard to continue to propagate within the company, culture of consideration and just making everything the best it can. And what happens is when you put all those things together, you end up with the totality of the experience, and that's what you're buying. That's what you're experiencing. That's what's craveable. I think is that experience that you get, and when you can create that, then that's a special thing, and people want that, and the value is built in and is there when you do that. And when it isn't, when something goes wrong and when there are missteps, well, then you just, if you came for perfect and you didn't get it, then we got to reset and do it
And
again.
we have a great story relative to your customer
We didn't
relationship.
do it. It wasn't us.
We didn't do it. It wasn't us. Natalie and I went in there to have dinner. This has to be over a year ago. And I had just bought her a brand new purse. She had wanted basically her whole life. And it was a Kelly, I can't remember.
Hermes bag.
Or
Yeah.
Hermes. Yeah, you know better than I
Birkin
do.
bag,
And she was concerned about it. It was on the table. So she set it down on the floor by her chair leg, so it was out of the way. And we weren't probably 10 minutes into sitting there, and she had just unwrapped this bag, and the bartender or the server assistant moved the candle, and when he moved the candle, he dropped it, and all that wax went all over Hermes and all down inside of it, and my wife was just looking at it. She didn't even know what to say. And her eyes were huge. We had a business dinner there, so she wasn't like, she was just like, she doesn't freak out anyway. She was just like, I could tell. And I'm like looking at her like, what happened? And all of a sudden she picks her bag up and it's just got wax all over it. I'm like, oh shit, this is not going to end well for me, her, or the poor bus guy. And your waiter came over, took the information, got it all. You called me, Oliver, immediately, like the next day, and you're like, look, we're going to swing by. We're going to pick the bag up. Don't worry about it. You'll either get a brand new one, or I'm like, dude, do you know how much this thing cost and how long I had to wait for it?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I understand, but we have a direct relationship in France, blah, 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 boo, boo, boo. Anyway, several months later, I got the bag back. It was brand new. It was whatever they did to it. It was as brand new or as brand new. Maybe they swapped it out. And you guys didn't flinch at all. You were like, sorry about this. We did it. And I wanted to make sure that, you guys, like the guy that probably felt the worst in the whole situation was the poor wait staff.
Well, he's doing very well at Morton's now.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
There you go. I love that sense of humor. But talk about because you guys didn't flinch.
No. It was never a question of what to do. It was whatever it was going to take to make it exactly perfect, and that was it. And as the universe doesn't make any mistakes, and you and I had the good fortune of meeting just briefly before that, so it was easy for me to give you a quick call, and we just went right into action to fix it. And this business is so much about building genuine relationships. And you never know when those relationships are going to come to bear. And we happen to have a relationship with Hermes and their person that runs North America, and it was just and it worked out perfect. And they took the bag and shipped it, couriered it, because they don't ship them, back to Paris, to the manufacturer, to the bench guys that made it, and they did everything they did and made it exactly perfect.
Sometimes business owners would look at those situations, and most of them would freak out, and understandably, they'd be overwhelmed with whatever it takes to get things fixed. They'd be mad at everybody involved. They'd even to some extent blame the customer for saying, "Why would you bring that bag to a restaurant?" like people defer and deflect when they're overwhelmed.
That's your reasoned choice, right? I mean,
that's your reason of choice. Now there is the flip side to that, which is when something really wrong goes bad, you can use that to an advantage if you flip it the other way, if you convert it. So we talk a lot in business about converting problems to opportunities for promotion. So here now, we built a relationship off of that because I built iTrust. I think I probably eat there 2-3 times a week. I take a lot of customers there.
Which is an amazing compliment.
I haven't audited my bills.
Don't do that.
For 2023, but my guess is it's 100,000 or more that we spend there easy. at
And
your
does
restaurants.
your wife show up with all her stuff in a Ziploc bag now?
Yeah. So she's no, because she's like, hey, if anywhere, you're going to go where they're going to take care of you.
Absolutely.
And so that relationship was converted into, now we're doing a podcast because we built a relationship. I feel like I want to take more people there. The experience, the restaurant's awesome, but also the story's amazing. It's a great representation of customer support and the customer journey working with you guys, which I believe is why you were able to build such a high valued business system.
That conversion concept is I've never heard it put that way, but we do that a lot. I mean, we joke sometimes. It's great we destroyed that purse, or it's great we hit somebody on the back of the head with one of our trays, or or they brought in a cake and we gave it to the wrong table. So everything happens, but the conversion. Some of our best guests. I mean, we had some issue in Houston years ago on Mother's Day, and we converted a lot of guests into just loving us more than anything. We have some of our best guests are out of these horrible situations because we go the extra mile. We will do, and we don't. And I've always had this. Me and my brother. It's don't make excuses. Just do it. Just fix it. Don't make any. We did it. Let's move on. Let's fix it. Let's make it right. That's it. Don't make any excuses. So.
But that's an important piece of this puzzle, and I think maybe more important than Jeff makes it sound, the environment that Jeff and his family and his brother Mike have created over the years that, I've been fortunate to be around for over 3 decades. There's no question. It was easy for me to pick up the phone and call you in the morning. We didn't have to talk about it because I knew 100% without a doubt, do whatever it takes, make it as good as you, make it the best or better. And that's it. And that's a special thing because that becomes a mindset that the company takes on, becomes a mindset that everyone, takes on. It becomes a part of your DNA, a part of the culture of the company when there's never a doubt that it's going to be the absolute best, meaning that all of the deliveries that come to a business on any given day, a restaurant, then every chef in the company knows without a doubt they have Jeff's implicit support that if something comes in and it's not exactly perfect, could be a tomato, could be a shrimp, could be anything, don't use it, give it back, and just, hey, we don't have that tonight. He'd rather not sell it than sell it a hair less than perfect.
And so talk a little bit, because when you think about the complexity of a business, I mean, especially the restaurant business, you have high transactions, you have a lot of logistics, everywhere from setting the reservation, showing up on time, parking the car, showing the people the table, making sure everything is in order, everything's delivered properly, everything comes out right, making sure the experience is remarkable. There's probably more logistics in a single transaction in the restaurant space, especially a high-valued one like you guys, than there is in most businesses. And most people talk about the complexity of business, the operations of business. How were you guys able to streamline each granular piece of the process to make sure and ensure your people are empowered and the deliverables consistent every single time? Because that has been my experience going to your restaurants. Well,
that's we have first of all, when we open a store, we have a great training program, and we spend a lot of time and money. I mean, when we open a new store, we almost have 2 months of training, which costs a lot of money to bring them in, and then we do all these practice dinners, and it's all in the restaurant. It's all about the systems you have in place and your standard operating procedures. And we've learned a lot. I mean, we learned a lot with Mastros, and we're even better now with what we have with our new steakhouses. But it's getting those procedures in place, and then it's making sure the employees understand and believe in them, and empowering them to do what we want them to do, and them knowing they can do these things, and they're not gonna, like that essay. He dropped that candle, but we want him to just take responsibility for it too. Mistakes happen. That was a bad mistake, but we all move on, and just it's all about empowering our management and the staff to do the right thing, and comfortable to come to us on how to fix any problem, rather than, because the problem you get in restaurant business and a lot of businesses, the staff might do something wrong and they don't want to get in trouble, so they hide it. So they don't tell anybody.
That makes it
Then
10
you
times
just-
worse.
Yeah, then you just hear about it down the road and we lost the opportunity to fix it in real time. So that's a big part of what we do, and them trusting us that, hey, we understand mistakes going to happen. Let's just do our best to fix it.
The person's a perfect example. It was SA, the server, the manager that night, the general man, that went through a line of people to get to Jeff, to get to me like that, because nobody flinched.
It had to be less than a minute and a half. It was resolved with a phone number, with a text message saying, "Hey, we understand this happened. We're going to be all over it." It just let us sit
And
back.
if somebody
and enjoy
hides
the dinner.
that, we would have never had that opportunity for instant recovery. And that's an
It's a good
environment that
lesson
Jeff
for all
creates.
business owners. That's why this show is Building Billions. It's hard enough to build a $1 million business or a $3 million. In fact, all businesses under $100 million, 98% of all businesses under $100 million are stuck at $3 million or less. 97% go out of business every 10 years. So it's very difficult to build a successful business. And it sounds to me like the operations are exceptionally important and tight to build a food business, right? A restaurant business. But the culture, from what I'm hearing, is as important or more important than the SOPs, because if they don't follow them, if they don't have transparency where they feel like they can communicate problems, then you can't fix them, which means it prolongs it and compounds it.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't be upset about, if you want to go 100 miles an hour, you can't be upset about a few bugs on the windshield. That's going to happen. And when everybody knows that, then it's the rest of the SOPs and the rest of the standards and the rest of the procedures that Jeff puts in place all come to bear because you're activating them. If you don't activate them, you don't get everybody behind it, and it's no different than obviously a lot of changes in historic college football and NFL today, with Bill Belichick and Nick Saban both retiring in the last 12 hours. But think about the level of accountability that those guys put in place, and the film watching and the correcting the smallest details, but everybody knowing it's fine, correct it. That's interesting.
We had Fertitta on our stage at the 10X conference 2 years ago, and he was talking about how much he loves that business. And so, it's hard enough to build a business that sustains when you own it, but to build a legacy business that flourishes after you no longer own it really speaks to the value of the foundation of the brand. Because for most businesses, it's hard enough, but when a buyer comes in, they usually screw it up, has been my experience. What is it like driving by these locations and seeing your names on them?
Yeah, it was, in the beginning, it was very odd. I used to live way up in North Scottsdale, so our first Mastros was the one at Pinnacle Peak and Pima. So after we sold, I'd drive by it every day. And it was odd for a while. Now it's just another, steakhouse that we compete with. So it's okay. It's been, we sold back in May of 2007, so. But the first few years were odd, and but it's still a great brand. I mean, Oliver has a great story about this, like your second house thing.
Well, it is. It was a wonderful chapter in all of our lives, and it's easy to equate that to when my wife and I had our first house. And I think we all have a similar story where one morning you wake up and you say, "Hey, maybe we should do something different. Maybe something a little more, something that fits us and more today and more where we're going in our direction in life." And you buy a new house, or you build a new house and you love it. But your first house, you painted it, you hung pictures there, you had kids there, and every time you drive by it, you want to see it look perfect. You want everything to be perfect, and you want it to be evergreen and be there forever. And that's how we feel about Mastros and that brand and that chapter in our lives. It's wonderful to see what they've done with it. They're brilliant guys. They've taken it to a next level, and that's it's exciting.
It's rewarding to see that both my businesses I've sold have gone through expansion on a global basis. So sometimes I'm in another country and I see something I started. So I know that feeling of like, this is really cool. But now let's go to the present time, because those restaurants have always been consistent. They've been a fun place to go to, but the stuff you guys have today is like cool. It's like modern. It feels amazing. It's like you walk into those restaurants and you're like, man, I'd love to have a house that has some component of this in it, just because it feels so good, right? And the way I have to imagine even the intention, like where to put the bar, how to put stuff around the bar versus the dining room, because there's people that want to experience the bar but not be in the bar, and all the thoughts that go into the environment and the creation and what you see when you walk in. Every one of your restaurants, when we experience them, we're like that's the only place I take my clients now when they come to town. They we want to go to the best restaurants. We could pick any one of your brands, and the consistency, even with a different name, and the environment. So talk a little bit about that spark that all of a sudden you were like, okay, I've sold, I'm done, I don't need to work anymore. And then it's like, fuck it, I'm going to go build another big ass monstrosity.
Well,
of great
that was,
restaurants.
that's not exactly the thought. But no, I mean, my brother and I were only in our late 30s when we sold, so we wanted to, we took a little time off. We had a non-compete, and then we were in the middle of the Great Recession, and we were still, I was on the board for a while of Mastros after we sold, and we saw what their numbers were even during the recession. We said, well, hell, I mean, they're still doing these relatively really big, because everything dropped during, 08, 09. And we looked at their numbers and said, man, they're still doing pretty relatively good, and it's probably only going to get better after we get out of this mess. So that's why we decided to build our Dominic Steakhouse.
And you could pick up property probably pretty cheap back then when you started the process.
Well, yeah, actually, we almost did our Dominic Steakhouse at this other location, and the landlord they were going to build the whole location for us, and the rent was going to be free for a couple of years because nobody was doing anything. Although we're very happy we didn't pick that location. Actually, they went completely out of business, so it wouldn't have worked anyway.
Yeah.
They really didn't have any money.
Location.
Yeah. No, and all kidding aside, location. That's what a lot of people make big mistakes. They say, "Oh my God, we get the rent's great at this place." Yeah, well, there's a reason. Yeah. So we joke about we love paying high rent. Yeah. There's a reason you pay high rent.
And what's it like having a restaurant named after, you said, your grandfather?
Yeah, my grandfather, Dominic Mastro, my dad's father. So. And my middle son also is Dominic, and it's great. And my grandfather, we were close, but he passed away when I was about 10 years old, and almost at my age right now, at 57 years old, he passed away, and it's amazing. He was always at Mastros. He was always our logo. We had his picture on the front of the menu at Mastros. We really named it was when it was Mastros. It was really. My dad's idea of naming Mastros after his father, our grandfather. So it's
what a great tribute,
cool. Yeah. And that consistency that you mentioned, where you walk in and in each one of the places, what you feel that where the bars are, hey, I'd love to have a component of that in a home someday, or that nature. And in each one of the brands, I think, what you're feeling is Mike and Jeff's infinite passion for the business and their and true hospitality, but how involved everybody is, how involved we all are in the creation of the brand and the concept, and they're a part of it. You're feeling their personalities, you're feeling the love and passion that goes into it, and I really do believe that comes through brick and mortar and the position of the bar and the lighting and what the choices are and the happen and the feel when you sit down and you say to yourself, you're a perfect example. You can have dinner anywhere on the planet you want to go. And when you choose one of our places, which is a great compliment, by the way, and you sit down, you get that feeling, you say to yourself, you know what? I'm in the right place.
Yeah,
this
I'm at
is
home.
Exactly where I want to be.
This feels like I could be at my home. Yeah.
And then when you can create that feeling that this is exactly where I want to be, I'm in the right spot, well, then that's the totality experience you win.
Talk about the one thing, the single biggest, scariest thing in the process of building all these businesses. One day, something had to have happened where you thought, "Is this it?"
And it can't be the purse story.
And it can't be the purse. Yeah, it can't be the purse story.
What do you got, Jeff?
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of scary things. COVID. At first I thought it was a joke. So we were actually down in the BVI's at the time, having a great time. And then we started, hearing some things, and then we heard a couple of little rumblings of things, and because we're in the BBI's early March of 20, and then we heard something about they canceled some PGA tournament, but then we heard they canceled the rest of the NBA season. We said, holy crap, they're not kidding around. This is more serious than we thought. And then we were trying to figure out how to get back into the United States because they were shutting everything down. So but that was the scariest time during COVID. We didn't know, what was going to happen. You're talking about, at the time we had 5 restaurants. We were building 2 more. Shutting down every one of our restaurants at the same time. When sometimes we have, like the electric goes out, at 2:00 on a Thursday afternoon, and we might not open for one night, that scares the crap out of us. Having 7 of our restaurants closed was just crazy, and we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if we were going to be closed. I thought this was going to roll over in like a week or 2. Luckily in Arizona and Texas, things reopened after about 5-6 weeks, but a lot of our other locations took a lot longer. But that was the scariest time, and it's just the unknown. But we came, and I'm still shocked how kind of most of the economy rebounded so well after COVID. I mean, things have been terrific since then, and just hopefully it keeps going that way.
What was it like, the process of actually selling your business in 2007? How long did that process take you?
It took, from start to finish, a couple of years. We were never for sale. We didn't. That never happened. We were just plugging along, doing our thing, and we had our restaurant, our Mastros in Beverly Hills, and that restaurant really put us on the map. Everybody really heard of us because we ended up in People magazine a lot because a lot of celebrities came in, so people would always come and talk to us, and someone we knew introduced us to somebody else, and we had dinner with them, and they started talking about maybe buying us, and we just said no, we're not for sale, and which we found out that's a good way to negotiate.
It's always a great way to negotiate. Why sell if you don't have to?
Yeah.
If somebody wants
exactly.
it bad enough, they'll keep coming to you.
Yeah,
that's
so
really
that's
what
what happened, and it got to a point, and we always thought in the back of our head we could, we could jump back in. So, and that's what we've done. So,
How much easier is it? Because I have a lot of friends that had big exits. I had a big exit, and people ask me, like, this next iteration of building a business, how much easier is it than the first? And people undervalue, the actual exit. A lot of times they're like, I'll never sell. But almost every one of my friends that had an exit has accelerated the next iteration of growth because there's just no pressure on, like, you're not going to go broke. If as long as you're proper about how you do it. Then you have Elon that throws everything at one thing, right? But how much easier was it for you the second time around once you had an exit and then before you got to that point, that whole process of thinking you're going to sell, negotiating a deal, maybe it's on, maybe it's off, maybe it's going to change somewhere. How stressful was that for you?
it wasn't stressful at all, the on and off. The only hard part when you're selling, because we didn't care if we sold or not. It was fine. We weren't those people. Like I said, we weren't for sale. Even once we got close to closing on the deal, it was fine. Worst case scenario, we just wake up and do what we've been doing for years. And so that was not
enjoying
stressful.
it.
Yeah, that was not stressful at all.
That's the best time to sell.
Yeah, exactly. So we just continued and moved forward. But as far as the second time around, I would not say the second time around was easier at all, just different. It was different.
I don't know if it ever gets easier. I think hopefully we just get a little better at it.
Yeah, but it's just as stressful as opening our first Mastros and opening our Dominic Steakhouse. And then when you got one, you got two, and the stress of, you want to succeed. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. You just open this new business. You want to succeed. See, that's all you're looking at. And
by the way, that's what I thought you were going to say when you said a scary moment was the opening day, every restaurant, we have been planning and opening and practicing and bringing people in. And we have, I don't know, a few hundred reservations, and we have reservations booked for a few weeks, but there's that time that like 3:00 in the afternoon when nobody's there yet. And you're like, all right, we're ready. Is anybody going to show up?
Yeah.
His dad tells a great story like that. And
And you probably have that feeling with every restaurant.
yeah,
Never
yeah.
goes away.
Yeah,
that's that productive paranoia that Jim Collins talks about. Good to great, great by choice. How the mighty fall, and how the mighty fall. The whole thesis there is when you lose that edge, that productive paranoia, because you just assume we're great, we're just going to make it work, and everyone just assumes the system works.
I unfortunately will never have that because I'm
That's
such
true.
a freak about so many things. And I overly stress myself out. So because I do know that if you start taking things for granted, that's a kiss of death. That'll ruin you. And I wish I can get a little closer to that because that's why I get so many migraines, I think. But anyway, I'm not worried about that. Yeah, I'm always, just every little thing. It's my personality. So it's, But so every restaurant's like our first restaurant. That's how you look at it. And that's how I look at
Their
it.
dad, Dennis, has been saying for years that fear is an excellent motivator.
This is like, if you're an entrepreneur and you're listening to this show, you should really pay attention to the nuances, because here's what, in fact, I'll give you an example. We manage a couple $1 billion of businesses over there, right? And they're across all sorts of spectrum. You got anywhere from a dentist to someone who owns a restaurant to a chiropractor to a concrete guy to a health business. You got it all. And what we see is we start educating them, and then we start engineering their business, and then we start consultatively helping them. And you see these businesses start to go like this, and then you see the earnings go like this, and all of a sudden you see this. And the business owner like, it doesn't work, I'm going to bail, or I'm going to get out, or I got to do something different. The reality is it went like this because you can almost pinpoint the three decisions from, I don't want to do it anymore, I'm going to hire somebody else to do it, and then I'm going to let them do it the way they want. It's almost like a sequence. And because owners like wore themselves out, they're finally winning. They worn themselves out for years. They're finally winning, and they're like, oh, I've arrived. And they're like, oh, shit, I got to jump back in. I don't have the energy. And so I just got to do something different. And we see it's almost like clockwork. You see that as they start to tick up. If you think about your business and how many people you've brought in as managers or general managers or people that you really rely on, who all of a sudden go from, yeah, I got it. I'm going to pay attention to the details. Like, yeah, it's going to be fine. And then you realize that attitude caused the rest of the culture to start to shift, and you have to make a very quick decision. As you're building your business and paying attention every day, because I'm getting that you probably look at cash in every day would be my guess. There's got to be one of you looking at a report every day. Every day, because I look at it every day. That's how I stay going during the day, because if I see a trend over 3 days, I'm going to hit the oh shit button and start putting protocols in place, right? When you guys see that cultural shift because of somebody you've left in charge that's deviating now, you can see it in the numbers, see it in the behavior, probably in the engagement. What do you do in that moment?
The problem is, you never move fast enough. I mean, we always try, we always talk about it, but whenever we see something happening, it's always, I wish we would have made these changes a lot sooner. So and you use the word trends. We're always looking for trends. Something happens once or twice. That's might be okay, but it's the trends you're always looking at, and then you gotta react, and you gotta move people around, and it's hard. I mean, we're in the people business. That's all we got. When you're multi-operating restaurants, it's all about the people, because you can't be there every day. We got places all over the country. So it's just, you got to rely on your people, and you got to have the best people, and then you got to stay close with them and know what they're doing every day. And that's what we try to do when we have systems in place and things I look at every day to understand what my key people are doing every day. So if we need to make some changes, we will, and hopefully sooner than later.
And I got to imagine you guys treat those changes the way that maybe a football coach, an elite coach or owner team would make about their players. I mean,
that's a funny example. We were just talking about this 2 days ago, the exact example, because we had to do something along these lines that was very troubling to me, because we had to do it, and it was best for the business, but it's just a hard thing to do. So we were talking about the exact example.
That was an example I used.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do for the business. So
you're going from good to great every time.
You're always trying to improve. That's all we're doing every day. And sometimes you have employees that they're fine, but you have somebody who's better. So, but those are hard hard decisions.
Well, it's the decisions that most business owners don't make, and especially when they're a small business because they have friends and family in the business, and they're the ones that usually are the ones that are taking advantage of the situation, but that sends a message to everybody else. If you're going to let the people you're closest to slide, then the culture says, go ahead.
For
and slide.
sure. And I think it also sends a message to everybody else of how much you care about them, because those are difficult decisions whenever you're going to part with somebody anyway that Jeff has to make. And he talks about this all the time. But then there's he's doing it for all of our behalfs, for everybody, for the essay that dropped the wax, to everybody else. When he makes a decision like that, a difficult decision to make a change with somebody, it's for the benefit of the other, 1,800 people that work in the company. I mean,
So keeping that big picture,
big responsibility.
and that is the responsibility.
That's the
That's your
responsibility.
job as a
Yeah,
leader,
that's-
right? To
that's what-
prune the trees so the branches don't break.
That's right.
So the whole people equation, because to me it seems like it's probably the single. I mean, supply chain. You can make sure your suppliers are the right suppliers, and you can make sure they deliver the way they're supposed to with the quality they're supposed to, and all those things. But this is a people business. You've said it over and over. The thing I tell every business owner is, guess what? Eat it. Every business is a people business. It doesn't matter if you're the best dentist or the best hairstylist or the best concrete layer, or the best framer or the best house builder. Ultimately, we're all interdependent on people. And if you don't acknowledge that finding, attracting, aligning, developing, and retaining great people needs to be a talent if you're serious about business, do you agree with that?
Absolutely. That's in every business. So that's all it is. It's all about the people. So, and it's hard because we're always constantly looking for the best people, and we're also constantly we do a lot of we don't open a store and then never talk to our employees again about the training they just received. We do these ongoing training. We do what we call boot camps 3 times a year at every store. We have a training team that goes in. And because if you're not talking to your employees about the systems and procedures, then they think you don't care about them, and there's that slide that happens. So you got to constantly talk about it, or else they don't think if they don't think ownership thinks it's important, they're definitely not going to think it's important. So we're constantly doing things to remind them. So, oh, geez, we got to get back on that.
It's crazy because a lot of business owners, my partner Grant Cardone is the #1 world's greatest sales trainer that there is, right? And yet so many business owners will be like, well, our people don't want to train on that. And I say to everybody that we manage, like everyone I don't care if you're the lawyer, you're training on that same platform. I don't call it sales training. That's what Grant has positioned himself. I call it human capital development training. Like everyone needs to learn to communicate better. My lawyer, if I'm in the middle of a deal and they don't learn to communicate, they're going to blow my deal. So why would I only make a salesperson train on how to be a more effective communicator? When you wrap training into your business, how significant and important is it embedded in your culture that it is an absolute must from the top down?
Oh, yeah, it's everything.
100%.
Yeah, that's the only way it works. If it doesn't start at the top, it'll never work at the bottom. So,
And I think beyond the actual nuts and bolts of the training it's a real example, a living example of the leadership that, hey, not only do we expect this to happen, but we're going to help you make it happen. And then when you're in that people business and you have all those people that are contributing and doing something for it, well, now you got a whole lot of people rowing in the same direction. Then the sometimes liability of lots of people becomes a real asset of lots of people, because when you create a company that has top-down leadership of caring about every single person in their job, giving them the training to do it the best they possibly can to deliver an amazing guest experience, that says something. And I think beyond just the nuts and bolts, it says, hey, this is for real, and I want to be a part of it, and that creates something really special.
Yeah. Well, look, guys, I mean, here's the deal. What I love about this episode is I'm not just some guy that wants to talk to a successful entrepreneur in what I would say would be a difficult business to build. All businesses are difficult, but especially the being on point every single day with people and with systems and processes and vendors and suppliers and quality control. I can't imagine a more difficult business, right? But to get to interview the ownership and the leadership, from my own personal experience, I am a dedicated client, customer who loves the brand. And so to get to sit with the creation of that is certainly a pleasure for me. And I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your busy schedule. I also want to just congratulate you on your success. It is a brand that you've built that anywhere I go, when someone says, it doesn't matter if I'm out of Arizona, if I'm in New York, or if I'm in LA, your brand, the representation of your brand, even with your former restaurants, speaks volumes. So when people are like, hey, I'm coming to Arizona, I just had my buddy from Germany text me, I'm coming to Arizona, where is the absolute best bougie place I can take my most important client? I said, Ocean 44. So like hands down, or Steak 44, like it doesn't matter. You're going to get the same experience. Or you go up to Dominic's. It depends on where you're staying. You can have that experience in multiple brands. So I want to thank you guys, and thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule to come meet with me and do this show. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I look forward to doing all sorts of great things with you guys in the community. Mandy has some great ideas for us to collaborate and do some stuff. If you enjoyed this episode of Building Billions with Brandon Dawson, with an iconic brand in the restaurant space, leave a like, share this, and leave a comment. And I appreciate you guys listening or watching another episode of Building Billions with Brandon.